So when doing a BBL, shape is always absolutely critical. But sometimes shape is more important than the volume. And that's the case we have here. She has a really nice underlying shape. She has a good waist. She just has an area here, which are her hip dips, that she wants filled in because the rest of the volume is good. Because she has a small waist and she already has quite a bit of volume in the lower part of her body, we don't want to go in and just do a standard BBL and give her too much volume and then she'll just be somebody with this small little waist and a really big butt. So in this situation, shape is going to take priority over the volume, and this actually happens to me probably every other day, I would say, where we're really focusing on the shape. And I'm using just enough fat to get the change in the shape without trying to add a lot of volume to her butt. Obviously, if I'm adding fat, we're going to be getting more volume. But in this situation, it's a little bit more strategic, where we're going to be adding fat really just principally in this hip area here. She already has a lot of fat in this saddlebag or lower hip, whatever you want to call this area that's transitioning to her leg. And I love that line. It's beautiful. But I don't want to emphasize that line. It's going to make her look too bottom heavy, and she doesn't want that either. So I'm not putting any fat at all. You know, usually I do put fat in here to try to build that out because we're trying to get that OG. In her situation, this is going to be very specific. I'm not adding any fat to the central part of her butt. She already has good volume here. And we're simply going to be adding fat here. Now, sometimes people are like, oh, I just want my hip dips filled. But that's kind of what we're doing, but you still have to go back because remember, the hip dip, you can just feel it with your finger. Here she is centrally. She has good volume here. But if you start walking down, boom. That's actually where her hip dip starts. So if I were to just put fat here to fill the hip dip, it would look weird. So you actually have to build the hip dip out almost like you're building a foundation. So for this to be able to be here, to be able to get the shape that we want, it can't just live here isolated. It has to be built on a foundation to support it. So her hip dip, I'm going to start grafting all through here, work out here so that we can change her shape and minimally increase her volume to her butt. Let's get started. Okay, so a relatively small volume change. Remember, the main goal is for the shape. But here I'm finished on her right side. I'm going to go start on the left side. But it's always good to kind of look and compare. So remember, this was the target area. So remember how this was coming up and then this was really pronounced? So I didn't add any fat here at all. I just built out her hip dip. Now she has a nice line. She's going to be a little bit flatter in here, but in order to get that to come out to match this, it would look a little weird. So I don't mind that shape that she has there. I think it's really pretty. So this is coming up and this is nice. And now this area here is all full. But I didn't add any in the center. This is still nice and soft. But you can see how this is now full because this is where the fat has been added. And then I blended back into that area. You always have to blend whenever you're doing these things. So I think that's really nice. And you can see over here now on her left side, where I have not injected yet, this is still flat. So you see the difference? I'm pushing here, and that's filled in, and this is still flat. But her overall volume remains basically the same, with the exception of filling that in. So let me go to the other side.